Few brands can get away with the kind of things that Mercedes-Benz AMG can. They've got tiny little fire-breathing hatchbacks, low-slung two-door coupes with whopping great engines that inhale everything around them. And they've got this vast fleet of performance SUVs. This is one of them, and this one is probably the weirdest one. It's the GLC 63. Let's just remember what Mercedes has done here. They've taken a very normal, very sober mid-size SUV and dropped a whopping great 4-litre twin-turbo V8 into it. As with most things AMG, the GLC 63 is available in 2 flavours, Standard and S, as well as 2 body styles. Being Australia though, we don't worry about the skim milk version, we only get the full-fat S. Not a great deal has changed for 2020, but there are a few things to talk about. But let's start with what hasn't changed. The best bit. The 4-litre twin-turbo V8. This is from AMG, obviously, and it is crammed in here. There is 375 kilowatts and 700 newton meters trying to escape out of this tightly packed engine bay. That's hooked up to a 9-speed transmission. It's an MCT. It's not a dual clutch, it's an MCT. Mercedes is very keen for you to know that. It's more like a motorbike gearbox. And behind that is an all-wheel drive system tuned for fun. For the 2020 model year, the GLC has new headlights, taillights, new exhaust, and new optional wheels. It still has the gorgeous Panamericana grille from the really racy stuff, and that's enough for me. It's a tough looking car to go with the performance. It hunkers down on the road and growls at you as it comes. But for 2020, the main stuff is inside. So the big news, well, it's not big news, but it's important news, is the entertainment system is now the new MBUX system. Now, I've used it in a couple of other Mercs. It is so much better than the old Command system. Command was all right. It never really felt quite cooked. This is, well, it's just better. You can control it here on the touchscreen or with the pad here on the central console. It looks really nice. And here in an AMG, you've got these clever AMG modes, which, give you telemetry and lap times and all that kind of stuff that won't be troubling me today. You can also get themes, which change the look of the MBUX, but also change the look of the fully digital dash. There's lounge, there's trip, there's standard, there's experience, all kinds of stuff, but it also affects the modes of the car. So it's kind of shortcuts to make everything sporty or everything calm or whatever. Very, very cool. It also has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but still through the USB. It does also have a wireless charger in front of the cup holders. In even smaller news, you've got this. You've got the new AMG steering wheel. It's really cool, really nice, easy to use. And it's got the dials for changing the modes here and the little extra settings buttons there too. Look, it's always been a good interior, but this is a nice update and it's kind of what makes the 2020 car. This car is absolutely loaded with stuff, too much to get through in a video. So if you want to know more, read my full review at carsguide.com.au. But before you go, watch to the end, hit subscribe and click the bell icon so that you're reminded of all new videos when they come through. As you can see, we put a lot of blood, sweat and tears into these. Being a mid-size SUV, it's quite practical and you do have 2 choices, the GLC wagon and the GLC coupe. Here in the wagon, you get 550 litres of boot space, put the seats down and that jumps up to 1600 litres. In the coupe, which costs a little bit more, it's about 171,900, plays 164,900, you lose 50 litres and then you lose 200. So it's 500, 1400, and you also lose a bit of headroom. But there's still a lot of space, and there's even a little bit of space under the floor for a few odds and sods, but there's no spare tyre. It's pretty good in the back seat too. I'm sitting behind where I drive and I've got plenty of knee room, pretty good leg room, and I can get my feet under there. So I am pretty comfortable. It's not what I would call a regular 3-seater though across here, because this seat is pretty small and you've got a transmission tunnel there in the way. So it might be a bit tight for 3 unless the kid's really small. You're pretty well looked after back here. You've got map pockets, bottle holders, cup holders in here, and a little tray for stuff under here. And this is very Mercedes. You've got 2 USB-C ports, so that'll fast charge the devices for those in the back, as well as you having a 3rd zone for the climate control. So this is a nice car for the family. The engine absolutely dominates this car. It's very similar to the C63, the sedan in that respect, and that's fantastic. The AMGs really, they're about being on the road. The M cars, they're like, oh, you can take it to the track. They're not mad enough to think you're going to take one of these things to a track. So it's all about that sensory, not overload, but there's a lot coming at you. You've got that enormous racket coming from the exhaust, which you can turn down. So if you're at my place around 2 o'clock in the morning, feel free to just hit that button, quieten everything down. In race, which I've just switched to because that's what everyone drives an AMG in, you're getting all this feedback through this fantastic steering wheel. It's just got these squared off sides and you feel like a race driver. That's what this car's about. It's about feel. You feel like you're going quickly. You feel like you're having fun, even if you're just dawdling along. And you know, you can dial it all back to comfort and it's just normal. It's a normal car. It has 500 horsepower under your right foot. You know, engines like this and cars like this, they just never get old. You are having so much fun listening to the car and feeling the car and just knowing you've got the nuclear deterrent under your right foot. It's really good fun. It's got fantastic brakes. They are big fellas gripped by big calipers. So, you know, this is a lot of car. It's not a light car. So you want to know that when you are really pushing on, you want to have plenty of braking underneath you, but it also means that around town, it's not too grabby. They're really nicely weighted and really well put together. So anyone can drive this. You can put anyone in this car, and if you leave it in comfort, no one's going to know you've got this amazing weapon of a car. The ride is firm no matter what, though. You can't get away from it. The springs are pretty taut, so you're not going to get away with this being a kind of boulevardy cruiser. So if you do like a plush car, this probably isn't the car for you. But the air suspension does do a tremendous job of knocking the worst out of, well, I mean, this is riding on 21-inch wheels and a lot of Continental rubber. I mean, the ride could be absolutely appalling, but it isn't. Those airbag suspensions really does take a little bit out of that, which is very, very good. So it's a pretty good all-rounder, but it is very much towards the sporting end when you're talking about the ride. And you know, it is full of stuff. It's not a cheap car. It's, you know, this is 165 almost, and the coupe is over 170, but you do get a lot of stuff, so it's very comfortable. It's full of gadgets, plenty of things to keep you entertained in the dreary bits when you're getting to the good bits. So it's obviously not all change for 2020, but that's okay because the GLC 63 started out as a pretty good car. That colossal V8 rumble. It's comfortable. You can fit 4 people in it, 5 if you have to. You can take your stuff with you. You can go anywhere because it's all-wheel drive. I think given the competition, and there is some very stiff competition, you'd pretty much have to say that as an all-rounder, this is probably the best fast SUV on the market.